Yeah, so there's a kind of, I guess there's a number of steps to the process. Kind of, we could go into quite a lot of detail, but I guess at a detail orientated ish kind of level, there's a few things with the skyscraper approach that Brian Dean kind of raised when he first doing his approach. So, the first thing is you're kind of taking the risk away from just writing a piece of content and hoping it'll get links by researching topics that are already popular in your niche. So that's something we'll do. We'll go in and look at within your niche and find everything that already does well and gets a lot of links. Because the idea being that if we write something on a similar topic or the same topic, then we should be able to get links too. So that the topic's interesting enough for people to get links. The other aspect of that is that we want to make sure that we can get enough prospects. So you're kind of turning keyword research on its head when you're researching topics for Shotgun Skyscraper. Instead of looking for low competition, with decent volume kind of keywords, you're actually looking for difficult keywords. Difficult, because what we're looking for is topics that have already got a lot of links. By default, by having a lot of links, they're going to be challenging topics to compete for. Because we want, as part of the Shotgun Skyscraper process, we grab all of those people linking to similar content or on that topic or similar topics in the past, and they become our prospects. So we grab the prospects, all of those people that are linking to similar articles, and we put them through Hunter. Put the site URLs through Hunter, which is a tool for acquiring email addresses. You can bulk upload URLs into that, and it'll tell you what email addresses it knows, and that's all public data. Hunter data isn't kind of any bought data or anything underhand. It's they essentially just scrape the web for any instances of email addresses they find and then put them into their database. So Hunter's pretty good. It gets about 50% of any URLs that you feed it. But what happens is that it gives you, it often give you multiple email addresses for each site, and then we've got to figure out, okay, which is the best email address to send to, because we don't want to be sending to all 15 email addresses, because we might be sending to info at and sales at and person's name at, and that same person might manage all of the inboxes, and therefore they're getting the same email all at the same time, and it just doesn't look good and isn't conducive to getting a link. So we choose the best one of the lot. So it might be something like editor at or content at. Something that's not so good is info at, but if that's all we've got to work with, then we'll go with that too. But we try and give ourselves the best chance. And then, we go through that kind of outreach exercise. Then we use a tool. We now use Hunter Campaigns, which is an additional module on the Hunter tool to do our outreach. And the good thing about those tools is that it'll automatically do the follow-ups for you. So for us, we have 3 follow-up emails in our sequence generally, and it will do things like it will automatically send those follow-ups, but it will do other things like it'll work out if the person was responded and therefore not send the follow-up, because you don't want that to happen, because that obviously doesn't look good. But also it's got some intelligence built in, so it figures out if the reply was an out-of-office reply, then it knows it wasn't a real reply, and to carry on sending the follow-ups and things like that. So we've got a number of tools that we use to kind of streamline the process for us.
Okay, very good. And you summarized it pretty well, so it doesn't sound so complicated, but we'll start diving into some of these details that we talked about, because I've never implemented a skyscraper campaign in this capacity before, especially not the shotgun. And the reason why is I personally get a lot of emails, and I didn't appreciate getting all the emails because I don't care about the person's piece of content, and I'm probably not going to link to them, honestly, because I'm doing a little work for them for free. And one issue that I have observed too often is exactly what you mentioned you're trying to avoid. Someone sending an email and then I reply back. They actually got my attention, I actually reply back, and then they never got it. So either they send the follow-up emails, which I know are automated, or I try to follow up with them and they have no clue that I sent them an email. So with that, it sounds like you've used some other email automation tools. Any specific challenges with using those? Or is there any setup? Can you just use, any old email address? Can you use a Gmail? What's the approach with that stuff?
Yeah, I think there's a few things there. Like, there's automation, but there's definitely got to be a whole lot of human element involved in this. So you need somebody. We have people manning the inboxes all the time, so we can get back to people straight away. Because the ideal situation is that you get in a conversation over email with somebody very quickly. You're much more likely to get the link if you can respond quickly. If you spend 3 days and not replying and then replying, that person's interest has waned, it's gone. You're much less likely to get the link. However, if you can reply 5 minutes after they've sent the email and they're already at their machine, then you can get into a dialogue backwards and forwards, and you're much more likely then to get the link. So there's that aspect. The other aspect is that that kind of just art of negotiation and art of conversation. If you're very one sentence and kind of you know what you want, I want a link, give it to me now kind of thing, then you've got to have some sort of personal, some soft skills over email that kind of can work to talk to somebody. We can't do with the shotgunner's approach. You can't do the latter part of what Brian Dean was doing with Skyscraper, is spending a long time over the outreach emails. He would spend a lot of time researching the site, researching the people that he was outreaching to, and had a very high success rate because of that. We can't do that because we've scaled it up and we're sending hundreds, if not thousands, of emails, and therefore, we try to make the emails as friendly and as personable as we can. But the reality is that they're not all personalized. But what you can do is, when you do get a response, then take a lot of care over that person and managing them. So there's that. You're right in terms of Hunter and Hunter campaigns, and when you're doing a lot of outreach, you need to be careful. There's a couple of things you need to consider. So we always use a separate domain for any outreach, and that's just good practice in general for when you're doing a lot of large-scale outreach, because when you're doing that kind of thing, then there's a chance that spam filters might be a little bit unhappy with the volume of emails you're sending, or the worst case scenario, you might get blocked or blacklisted by spam filters. So we avoid using any email addresses associated with the domain. It shouldn't have any effect on SEO, but if you ever wanted an email address on that domain, or the person you sold the site to does, that's problematic, and we just avoid that risk by creating a new domain. So personally, we just use the .email extension. So if your site is bestpodcastmicrophones.com, then we would use bestpodcastmicrophones.email as the extension, and it really just looks like a quirky email setup at that point. And no one really looks that closely anyway, but if they did, it just looks a little bit quirky in that way. We use a Gmail account, as you suggested there, because we want to look professional. That's why we're doing the proper domain. We're not using gmail.com. But the other problem with gmail.com accounts is that it's very limiting in the number of emails you can send per day. So we want to send a lot more when you take into account the follow-ups we want to send as well. So a Gmail account is not good enough. So, and that's also how things like Hunter and Mailshake that you connect the accounts to Hunter and Mailshake, and that's how it works out that you've got the replies, and then they can do that clever stuff for you.